If you're a heating and air conditioning technician, what's a problem that you may face when working with salespeople that you may not even know about, and why does it matter? This is a fantastic question. I'm Scott Bell, coming to you live for HVAC technicians, sales secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and business, and a fantastic day to talk about you. Coming to you live from the Delta. So check this out. It's interesting that sometimes I'll work with technicians and we'll do some role play, and content comes up, and I got to go, where did that come from? And I was working with an individual recently, and we're talking, and in the role play, they started like asking these questions. And I go, wait a minute, we got some boundary issues. What you're trying to do is you're trying to set a perfect lead for a sales guy, and you're asking a bunch of questions so that they don't go to a call and they don't go to an appointment that they're not going to close. Because like, here's what happens if you don't know this. In a larger team, they're track closing rates. So if you go on a tech set lead or a turnover, as they may call it, then what happens is, that may count against them if it's a bad lead. So what do salespeople want? Laydowns. They want the job that they walk in and the people are like, where do I sign on the bottom line? Right? And they think that it's the technician's job to set the perfect sales call for them every time, because they may not want to have to do some work, right? They may not want to have to put in some effort. They may not want to have to get some resistance or some pushback so that they could go back to the office and go, hey, look, under these circumstances, I close this deal, I close this deal, I close this deal, I close this deal. And if you're a manager, you need to be aware of this, that if you have a tech that gives you a good amount of leads, but they only set leads that close, you're missing an opportunity to sell more. They're leaving money on the table, and some tech is going to fall behind them, or some other salesperson is going to come take their lunch money. You got to be aware that sometimes that this happens. The sales team will go to the technicians and they go, don't set a lead unless we have item 1 in place, item 2 in place, and item 3 in place. And the technician hears, okay, if I don't have 1, 2, and 3 in place, I'm not going to set that lead. So what happens? They don't set that lead. Depending upon the company, some companies will say, look, tech, it's your job to get the salesperson out there, the comfort advisor out there, the design specialist out there, and it's their job to sell it. Okay. That's like the bare minimum. And sometimes techs make stuff up to get somebody to the door to have that conversation. On the other end of the spectrum is the salesperson coming to the technician and saying, I only wanted you to go to set a lead under these circumstances. What's the right answer? Somewhere in between, in the middle, right? I don't run your company. I don't work for your organization, but there's always an opportunity. And this right here is why you should join my email publication. I'll give you the news, not in the Facebook group, not YouTube channel. Just go to hvactechsecrets.com. So be aware that sometimes salespeople will come to you and put undue rules on you that are not part of the company because they want to lay down. They'll put undue rules on you because they don't want to have to necessarily put in the work. They'll put crazy rules on you if they can, so that they only go to jobs that are the perfect scenario for them, so they don't waste their time. And this is the way that it works. If you're a technician, to an extent, you got to do what the company says. If they want you to set leads, you set leads. You're going to get that salesperson who calls and complains. And sometimes a complaint isn't valid. You just listen to it and go, not going to deal with this. It's going to make some salespeople mad if they hear this, but like, this is the truth. And sometimes that salesperson is going to have a valid point and go, hey, there's a couple things that you did in here. Like, you told the person they needed a bigger system when they didn't. Or you could have told them they needed a new line set, a refrigerant line, because it would have made my job easier. Or you could have told them there were some ductwork issues because they would have believed me a little bit better, right? So it works both sides, but be aware that there's going to be a time that you're going to work with a salesperson and they want that perfect set lead from you. And what ends up happening is you end up leaving leads on the table over a course of a year, whereas maybe that salesperson couldn't or can't sell it, but somebody else could. So be aware when a salesperson comes to you and says, I only want this type of lead. Well, is that what the company says, or is that what they say? And if it becomes a problem, there's a reason why. You can have a polite conversation with a manager and say, I've got some concerns. I set this lead. Here's my circumstances. Here's my notes. Here's everything that was wrong with the system. And this is the reason why. And I got pushback. How do we bridge this gap? How do we deal with this? And sometimes the manager is going to tell you the outcome. They're going to have to go to the other manager, the sales manager, and they're going to have to fight for position and defend moats. And, a lot of managers are reasonable and they're going to, hey, like, that makes sense. And sometimes they're going to flat out ignore it. your job is to say, I've given my piece. Time for me to move on. Go to my next call. You got 1 of 3 things to do from here. Just 1 of 3. Find the subscribe button. Click on it. Every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. 2, hit follow. 3, you know what you got to do. Share this video with a friend. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.